For 6 years I worked 2 jobs, believing I was building a forever kind of love with the man I thought would one day call me his wife. I believed in him when he had nothing but student loans and a second-hand laptop that overheated during every exam prep session. I believed in us when he said medical school would be hard, but temporary, and that someday we would look back and laugh at the struggle. I did not know that one day I would look back alone, holding a wedding invitation with my best friend's name written in gold. Let me start from the beginning, because love stories like this never begin with betrayal, they begin with hope. We met our sophomore year of college in the campus library during finals week when everyone smelled like stress and burnt coffee. He was brilliant in a quiet, steady way, and I was drawn to how focused he seemed about becoming a doctor. He told me about his dream to open a clinic in underserved communities and help families who could not afford proper care. I remember thinking, this is the kind of man you build a life with. When he got into medical school, we celebrated with takeout pizza and cheap champagne in plastic cups. He held my hands and said, I could not have done this without you, and someday I will take care of you too. Those words became my fuel. During his first year, tuition bills stacked up faster than we expected, and financial aid barely scratched the surface of what he needed. His parents helped when they could, but it was not enough. That was when I made a decision that would define the next 6 years of my life. I picked up a second job, waiting tables at night after finishing my full-time marketing assistant position. I told myself it was temporary, just until he found his footing. Days blurred into nights and nights, into early mornings as I learned how to survive on 4 hours of sleep and cold coffee. I paid for textbooks that cost more than my monthly rent and exam prep courses that promised miracles. When his car broke down, I used my savings to fix it, because he needed to get to the hospital for rotations. Every time I handed over my card, I imagined our future kitchen, our future children, our future peace. I was not just paying bills, I was investing in us. My childhood best friend Ava knew all of this because I told her everything. We had grown up together, sharing secret sleepovers and dreams about the kind of love we wanted someday. She used to say, you are so lucky he is going to be a doctor, and you believed in him before anyone else did. I wore those words like a badge of honor. Medical school changed him slowly, like water reshaping stone over time. He became busier, more distracted, more critical of small things. If I asked for a date night, he would sigh and say, you know how important this year is for my residency chances. I swallowed my loneliness because I believed sacrifice was part of the journey. When he graduated, I sat in the audience holding a bouquet I could barely afford and cried with pride. 6 years of exhaustion condensed into one moment when they called his name and he walked across that stage. After the ceremony, he hugged his parents, shook hands with professors, and finally kissed me quickly. You did it, I whispered. We did it, he corrected, but something in his eyes felt distant already. The next day he started acting strange, answering texts hours later, cancelling dinner plans, saying he needed space to think about residency offers. I told myself transitions are stressful, big changes make people weird. Weeks passed and the distance grew, like an invisible wall between us. One afternoon, a thick envelope arrived at my apartment with elegant calligraphy, spelling out my name. I assumed it was another graduation announcement until I opened it and saw his name printed beside Ava's in shimmering gold ink. I remember the exact sound my heart made. It was not dramatic, it was quiet, like something breaking clean in half. The wedding was in 6 weeks. I called him immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. I called Ava and she answered, breathless, as if she had been expecting me. She said she never meant for it to happen. They reconnected during his last year and realized they wanted the same things. I asked her, what about me? There was silence, thick and heavy. She said, you were always so busy working, and he felt alone, as if my exhaustion was betrayal, as if my sacrifices were absence. He finally called that night. His voice was calm, almost rehearsed. He said he had changed, that medical school shifted his priorities. He wanted a partner who understood the lifestyle of a doctor socially, professionally, aesthetically. I realized in that moment, he did not mean partner, he meant accessory. I asked him if any of it was real, the promises, the future, the kitchen we dreamed about. He said it was real then. People outgrow each other, he added, as if we were a pair of shoes. I did not attend the wedding. Instead, I worked a double shift and cried in the restaurant bathroom between taking orders. For months afterward, I questioned everything about myself. Was I too supportive, too available, too willing to shrink so someone else could shine? The financial impact hit me next. My savings were gone, my credit cards nearly maxed out, and the man I invested in was building a new life without me. Therapy became my lifeline. My therapist asked one question that changed everything. If he had stayed, would you ever have stopped sacrificing yourself? I did not have an answer, so I started rebuilding slowly. I took a certification course at night, not for someone else but for my own career growth. I applied for promotions I once thought were out of reach. I learned how to budget for myself instead of for us. About a year later, I received another piece of mail with his new return address on the back. For a second, my chest tightened, but inside was not an apology. It was a generic holiday card with a glossy photo of them standing in front of a new house, smiling perfectly. I stared at it for a long time, then I threw it away, because healing sometimes looks like choosing not to reopen wounds. 2 years passed and something unexpected happened at a networking event. I met Daniel, who volunteered with a non-profit supporting first-generation college students struggling with tuition. We started talking about student debt, and I told him pieces of my story without the bitterness. He did not pity me. He said that kind of generosity is rare and the right person will protect it, not exploit it. Those words felt like sunlight. Instead of rushing into romance, we built friendship first. He invited me to join the non-profit board, and together we brainstormed ways to expand funding. That was when the idea formed, clear and steady in my mind. If I could help one student without losing myself in the process, maybe the past would not feel so wasted. 3 years after the wedding, I launched a small scholarship fund for students working their way through medical or nursing school. At the launch event, I stood at the podium and told my story carefully without naming names. I said investing in someone else should never require abandoning yourself. The applause that followed felt different from any validation I had chased before. Daniel squeezed my hand afterward and whispered, "I am proud of you, not for what you gave away but for what you built." We began dating months later, slow, intentional, steady. He never once asked me to prove my love through sacrifice. Meanwhile, whispers about my ex's marriage began circulating through mutual friends. Residency hours were brutal, and Ava struggled with the pressure of being the perfect doctor's wife. There were rumors of arguments about money, about image, about expectations neither of them could sustain. One evening, Ava called me. Her voice sounded fragile, unfamiliar. She said she finally understood what it meant to compete with a career for attention. She admitted he had hidden debts, impulsive investments, and a temper that surfaced when things felt out of control. I listened quietly, not with revenge but with distance. She asked if I hated her. I told her hate requires energy I no longer wish to spend. Eventually, news spread that they were separating, citing irreconcilable differences. I expected to feel triumphant. Instead, I felt free, because by then my happiness was no longer tied to their downfall. Last spring, our scholarship fund supported its 10th student. A young woman stood on stage, crying as she explained she would be the first doctor in her family. After the ceremony, Daniel pulled me aside and said, "There is something I have been meaning to ask you." He did not promise forever. He promised partnership, respect, and a life where we both grow together, not at each other's expense. When I said yes, it was not because I needed rescuing. It was because I had finally learned the difference between love and investment without return. If you are watching this and you are sacrificing pieces of yourself, hoping someone will choose you, please hear me clearly. The right person does not require you to disappear so they can appear successful. Support should flow both ways. Dreams should expand both lives. And if someone you built leaves you at the finish line, let them go, because sometimes the greatest revenge is not bitterness or exposure. It is building something so meaningful that their betrayal becomes a footnote instead of your headline. I paid for his medical degree, but I earned my self-respect, and that has proven far more valuable than any title he ever received.